Welcome everyone to the JP Network. My name is Paul. I actually almost forgot to mute my mic, unmute it. But with that said, we are about to get into our topic today, and today we will be discussing a quite pretty predominant topic to help others in their situation in the Philippines. With that said, we will be I want to give just a quick understanding. If this is your first time here, welcome to the JP Network. We go live typically every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I just want to give a quick disclaimer regarding this. Disclaimer: our thoughts and our opinions are our own. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and there's always exceptions to the rule. We realize that everyone has their own value and their opinions, and we understand that not everyone has the same characteristics and values. With that said, we will be talking today about scammers in the Philippines and how to protect yourself from those particular scams. So when you actually travel over to the Philippines, we want to help educate. This might actually be a part one. We might actually do a part two, but we're going to help educate at least five different possible topics today about five different kinds of scams today, where we will be overlapping, and I'll be adding some videos that I managed to grab on TikTok. And with that said, I would like to introduce my buddy, good friend, and co-host Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.
Hi, Paul. Good evening. I'm glad you got home safely today with the snow.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. That was a difficult one. It really snowed a lot today. it was a,
Yeah.
it was a troublesome one, and I took it slow. There was a lot of accidents today, by the way.
Oh, is this the first big snow of the year for your area?
Mm, no,
Might explain some of
this
that.
wasn't the no, sorry. This wasn't the worst one we had, but we had a big ice storm that wound up kind of really putting a lot of people into there. But we did see a lot of accidents today because people were just not being careful. That's just what it was. People were hitting guardrails and hitting other cars. People were driving off the highway and hitting slick spots. It was just pretty bad because people thought that they could drive because the road kind of looked clear. It was wet, and they weren't being careful. That's what it was.
It's always my biggest time of the year for being concerned about eyes.
Mm,
Always a reminder, drive slowly, look
exactly.
both ways, be careful.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah. Currently we are currently waiting on people to get here, but if not, we're just gonna go right into this topic. We understand that everyone does have their own time schedules, but hopefully, maybe more people will join us today. But Bob, have you actually dealt with any particular scams while you were in the Philippines? Did you did you experience anyone? Did you hear any?
I have not really the not really the dating variety, but at the time I went, it was either the first or second time. There was the bullet scam. Some people here might remember that from 4 or 5 years ago. Duterte, I think, was the president, and people would come and put a bullet of all things in, slip it in your big luggage. That's why people started wrapping cellophane tape around their luggage so nobody could slip something in there. So they would do that and then say, "Oh, look what you've got here. Do you know this is illegal to bring this into the airport or on a plane?" And you're like, "Oh, that's not mine. How did that get there?" And then they extort money out of you. It doesn't have to be a bullet. It can be some drugs, a small amount of drugs, powder, and then they can say, "Hey, for $2,000, I can not turn you in and put you in jail." And then if you've got the money, you might feel like you got to pay that ransom of yourself to get you out of that situation. Um, that's the biggest one. And then, which we were wary of. Pardon, excuse me for the cough, but there comes a time of year when I can't say one word without trying not to cough, and that's where we are.
Take a
It's a
drink.
nerve. It's a nerve in my throat.
Yeah.
They say there's nothing wrong with me. It's just a nerve. Um, and then the usual is the Kano tax, which means since I have white skin and I go to the store by myself, I'm more likely to be taken advantage of by means of being overcharged. And but other than that, nothing that would make me feel like I didn't want to go back again.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's really helpful because I didn't know it was, what is it called? The Kano tax, you said? Is that what you said?
Kano tax,
Oh,
Kano, white man tax,
oh, okay.
Americano tax,
I gotcha. Yeah, I knew there was a foreigner tax, but I didn't really actually know that it was called the Kano tax. And that's one thing that we are going to
informally.
mention. Yeah, that's the one thing we are going to mention a little bit today. But that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I didn't know it was called that particularly per se. I did hear about the bullet one, and I wouldn't say that I experienced scams in the Philippines when I first went. But I did had a lot of people try to follow me around. I did have a little bit of a bribery and some other people try to oversell me things. A sympathy. We're going to talk about that, like a little sympathetical, like a little child, and also trying to get you just to buy things and do that kinds of things. And you got to be careful about these kinds of things. I really do. But you shouldn't be afraid of them, right, Bob? I don't think you should really be afraid to go to the Philippines for this because I think this is a big topic that a lot of people are really searching for, and that they're leery. Well, what to do, what not to do. What do you think?
I think they're going to meet with some opposition for getting scammed, like in
Mm,
the markets, the sorry stores, even the airport. You asked me about an incident in the airport. I got taken advantage of by not wanting to give me my change back
mm,
because they figured, what do I need the extra 50 cents back? Well, um, that's just the way it was. I never did get it back, but my wife went and pled my case and told them that was a disgusting thing to do, because I'm from America, not to get my change. But back to the bullet scam, a lot of people that were involved with that worked in the airport.
mm.
And so I remember Duterte now threatening to fire everybody in the airport if that happened again.
Wow,
And I
that's
think that's one of the things that stopped the bullet scam because people said, you're going to cost everybody their job if you get caught. Duterte didn't mess around.
mm.
I
That's
think
inter-
that might have put an end to it.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully it did. I didn't hear a whole lot more after that, but yeah, I did hear about that bullet scam situation. But I guess let's go ahead and go forward into this. The
KJ
first
Kid
top.
Flash.
What? I'm
KJ
sorry.
Kid Flash.
Oh, that's
Good
my.
good evening.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, that's my son. Actually, he's watching.
Oh,
I'm.
okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's watching. Huh. Hi, Colton. Anyway, surprisingly enough, but it's okay. We can move
Well,
forward in that.
somebody's got to get this started, so
I
he's,
know.
he's going to be the first one.
Yeah. With that being said, I wanted to talk about mostly about blackmail scammers. This is our first topic today. There's a lot of particular blackmail scams out there. I know if you know one particular vlogger, him and his wife. He said Tim K. You can check out his YouTube channel. I don't have anything about him particularly per se, but he said he didn't feel safe in the Philippines. He's back in the Philippines now, but at that particular time he didn't feel safe because he knew a particular gentleman that was involved in a car accident with another gentleman. Apparently, the foreigner said it wasn't his fault, but the Filipino seemed to be blackmailing them to say, "Well, you need to pay for the damages. I need to pay for medical fees and all these other situations." And it's a bigger problem that way. But yeah, but he said you're gonna face this opposition being like a foreigner in there. Do you have anything to say about that, Bob?
Well, you'd like to think that over time you can become comfortable with the locals and they
Yeah.
don't feel like excuse me, should take advantage of you. You also want to make sure your behavior and attitude doesn't attract attention because there's some Westerners that are kind of loud and rough and tumble and confrontational and that sort of thing. It's probably more likely to make you get taken advantage of just because Filipinos don't like to see that.
Yeah. I
Keep
agree
a
on
low
that.
profile.
Yeah. I understand.
Don't dress like you're worth, $1 million.
Yeah, I can actually say that too. Yeah, you shouldn't dress overpriced.
Hmm.
You shouldn't dress like you have a bunch of money because there has been some situations. I guess they're particular foreigners where they've been blackmailed into doing certain things and saying you better pay up or do this because they look the part. Honestly, you need to kind of keep maybe a low profile, and especially if you want to move there, especially if you want to live there. I don't think tourism per se having that kind of situation, but if you have a long term stay in the Philippines and you're particularly with a particular lady, the town's eventually going to know you. And over that time, the town's going to start understanding that, hey, he's throwing his money around, or he's going to bars a lot, or he's buying drinks for everyone, and he's
Yeah.
choosing to go to parties and all these things. Yeah, it's a big problem that way.
It just helps if you're with a Filipino. Every time we go, we take people out to
Yeah,
restaurants, and it doesn't matter how many are with us. We just pay for everybody. Between my wife and I, we pay for that. We just take a certain amount of money to the Philippines, and we assume we're going to use it all up before we come back.
yeah,
So we don't keep track of it like that. But then the family knows that this is family, and they're doing what they usually do, and I don't think anybody's going to you know within the family, they're not going to try to take advantage of you. Although I think we were robbed one time when we had a special event in our house. So you
really.
never know if that was a family member or what. But you know, the whole reason we're talking about being scammed now is because people feel like they're short of money. They need to get more. It's very competitive, and so anything goes. Something could be stolen for cash, or it could be taken off of your body. But generally, don't go out by yourself. Stay with the Filipina, and they're less likely to. They'll have more respect for you, or they'll know that the Filipino will be able to smell out the scam,
Mm.
and that
That's
makes you safe.
yeah, 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 I agree. Yeah, especially I think being with a particular lady, or if you are a lady, being with a particular Filipino gentleman that you do trust, having that particular person might help a little bit. I might have been a little bit more scammed if I would have been only by myself. I can't say for sure if I would have been scammed without my wife, but I know at least my wife was presentable enough to be there with me for that. I would say that at least.
Well, Paul, one time we were going to the mall, just a trip to the mall where we did probably every other day in the Philippines, if not once a day. Um, Good place to stay cool. But
Yeah.
anyway, we were approaching the mall, and then my brother-in-law turned around and went the long way. And I asked him why, and he said because of those police officers up there. They might call them enforcers. Somebody can correct me on that. But
Yeah.
they saw the place. What's the problem with the police? He said, well, I don't know if I trust them. And what he probably meant was, even though my wife and I were there totally, legally, and we're family, he thought, well, they could stop us, and it's because of me,
Yeah.
and ask for some money, or else they may turn us in. He must have been afraid of something like that, because there was nothing to be afraid of in America. But he saw them and didn't like something, and so he went the long way. Even when we got inside the shopping mall,
Mm.
he said people were staring me down, and he actually had to report. A couple of guys were staring me down, and he had to report them to the staff, saying this guy over there, or these two guys over there, they're staring at at Bob, and make sure they don't, approach him and try to take something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I looked like I had my bag with me that I usually do, or if I didn't, but I don't know. I don't know what the trouble it could cause, but he was concerned, just his instinct, that I might not be safe from something rotten going on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think this may or may not have been in the Philippines per se, but there was a particular incident where a particular vlogger, he was getting stared down by three gentlemen, and these three particular gentlemen, they looked like they were about to do something to him, and if the particular gentleman, this vlogger, didn't turn around and actually start eye contacting all of them, like eyeing all three of them, they probably would have done something, because as soon as he started eyeballing them, it's like, I see you, and I see you. They they left him alone. That was kind of how that works out for him. I wouldn't say that works out for everyone, but at least acknowledging that people don't have the, like, I guess, the jump of the gun of you. How do you say that? Basically, they have the jump on you, but at least acknowledging them. Hey, I'm ready to not back down on this if you're willing to throw down on me right now. But but you're gonna come at me, and I'm gonna come at you even harder if you can.
Yeah.
That was kind of his situation.
Don't go out late at night when it's dark, and it gets dark at
Yeah,
5:30 p.m. It's dark already. Those are some things to be aware of. Short term, probably, I don't know if it would matter that much. It could because you're so new and you probably look like you're lost.
yeah,
On your phone a lot, like, what do I do next? And where are you or something? And I don't know if you put your phone up like this and you put your bag down there, that's something you don't want to do because when you're distracted, somebody could quickly, they could hang out where the tourists are and quickly snatch it.
mm. Yeah. I can see that. One thing that I did notice, and one thing that a lot of people have mentioned before, is don't act like you're lost, especially in
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
areas.
that's good
Yeah,
advice.
yeah, yeah. Don't do that either. But with that said, we're still on point number one, but we're gonna cover a little bit of a subtopic here. And the first one, I don't know if you heard of this one lately, but I've heard of this in the Philippines, and this is sextortion. This is extortion by sexual acts, and this is not something that is taken lightly in the Philippines. It's actually quite illegal in the Philippines, but many people still try to do it. And basically, what they do is they con you in a way, or even somewhat like way of a blackmailing you in a way to basically offer you a service, a sexual service in regards, and then they film you or they take pictures of you in a particular room in a particular space and says you give us this money or you give us this thing and or we will leak it out to your boss, your wife, your family. And this is not something that I take lightly, and it is most of these scams I will definitely say are pretty much what would say pretty much preventable. I would say that you can at least prevent these particular kinds of scams, especially sextortion. Honestly, if you know this woman, and I think it can possibly happen, um, even for knowing a woman long term, but it's typically not as likely. I would definitely say if you are trying to get married to this woman, oh, can I help you? Thank you. Okay. Have a good one. I know. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we're live right now. Thank you. Thank you for the tea. Okay. but but with sextortion, this is not something that I would definitely take likely. And if you do see this, if you hear anything about this, if you're even like dealing with anything like this, you need to immediately go to the authorities. I think you can also go to the NBI, which is like their National Bureau of Investigation in the Philippines. You can definitely go to them, and they can kind of help you with that kind of situations. But have you heard anything about sextortion, Bob?
Well, yes. And before I say that, let me just say what I usually say that I'm not a proponent of sex before marriage, whether you're
I
18 or
agree.
58. So doing that, just you take your own risk on you. But the times I have heard about this is when a guy thinks that the woman he's with is not married and she is. Well, then the husband shows up, or other thugs show up, and then they threaten him if he
Yeah.
doesn't pay. And that's something that they can do. And again, that doesn't happen if you do what we did and no sex before marriage. If we got married and nothing like that could happen, nobody could ever accuse us of anything like that because we
Exactly.
didn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, that does happen, and it's a well again, a lot of people go to the Philippines for that reason, and so that's dangerous, and I certainly wouldn't recommend doing that.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that. But with that said, I just want to cover it a little bit. I do have some TikTok videos out there, and I just want to show you that this is like a legitimate thing, and but that there are real legitimate blackmail scams out there, and this is a particular one that we can watch here today. So enjoy for a second. I won't probably play the whole clip, but in this particular one's in Filipino, so but majority of it, this particular one's about sextortion.
Nitong Enero, nagkakilala sila ng 27 anyos sa si Ana Marinukum sa isang dating website. Nagkasundo silang magkita sa isang hotel sa Makati.
During the meetup, so parang napil ko na may something weird about sa kanya. So I decided not to continue the meetup. dun sa hotel. So, pagkatapos po nun is bumaba na kami, but hindi ko na pansin na nakuha niya pala yung phone, wallet, and some of my IDs.
Noong nagkahiwalay na raw sila,
Yeah, and that being said, moving beyond that, it's pretty bad, but that is out there, and but these are types of blackmails that typically we don't want anything part of, and yeah, we are big proponents of getting married before you even consider even having any kind of consensual sex.
We have to bring Kid Flashback on to ask some questions here. Maybe everybody's shoveling out their car and they're late to get home today.
Yeah, I know. He was playing. He was playing in the snow recently earlier, but yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're just gonna move forward, and it's all right. We're gonna do next one is paying for damages. Do you know anything about that one?
Um, well, not particularly, but I have, there are people that will step out in front of your car and carefully get hit. And then that way they can sue you for all kinds of money,
Yeah.
or whatever you have with you, to keep you from getting sued for more. Have you seen those videos? It's probably more than just the Philippines, and I suppose somebody does it there too. But that's one way, is to kind of get into an accident. But as far as if a real accident occurred and you were not guilty, but they were, if there's more than one of them, they could always say, no, I'm the witness, and this guy was driving recklessly. Then, if you have no witnesses and you're from another country, maybe they're going to trust the Filipinos more, and maybe it's all a ruse, to get some money from you. I don't know. They could just do this impulsively and say, "Hey, here's our opportunity right now." Not like they were going out looking for trouble. But they may just have in the back of their mind, "Hey, this is an opportunity now." If they're inclined to do something like that, let's get some money from him, and say that it was his fault instead of ours. I don't know, but just, I guess you could say, don't drive in the Philippines by yourself, but many people do, and we probably would. I wouldn't, but my wife would.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I just thought is, I don't want to forget. Just because I am the foreigner and I am in the Philippines, um, if your wife is working and they know that, and the word gets around, she can be just as big of a target as the husband.
Oh wow.
For example, my wife, they know what she's done, like to remodel a house. So they know that. So when they see her, if she ever goes back there again, they can always kind of target her because they know she's got money.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, they could.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got some neighbors that every time we've
Yeah.
built something or bought something, the neighbors have done the same thing.
Hmm.
It's keeping up with the Joneses in the
Yeah.
Philippines. We buy a car, they buy a car. We both do upgrade, they do an upgrade.
In the Philippines, they do that.
Yeah, yeah, right
Really?
where where one of our places is.
Huh.
And so there's a lot of comparison. If
Yeah.
let's say you got a foreign boyfriend, and well, then look what this girl's boyfriend or husband did,
Mm.
and yeah, that's amazing.
Oh
But
wow.
yeah, if your wife makes money and she's there, she's more of a target than she was before she left. If she came to America and started making money, excuse me, making money and sending it home, then the neighbors can know that, oh, little Sally, is making good money in America now, and you start thinking about what to do the next time she's there.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. Yeah, being a bigger target, especially being more well known. I guess not even just being a target, but being pretty popular now. I know. When it came to my wife, though, that was kind of a thing. I guess I can add to this is that my wife, uh, after I left, they started asking her, "Well, where am I? Am I coming back?" And they would kind of treat her and my family even differently. They would do that because of that, because they would immediately assume that out of me being there, that suddenly her and her family were wealthy. that was kind of a situation, and they basically had to tell him no, they're not more wealthy, but that's what they think, because all of a sudden I show up and all of a sudden I'm taking my wife back and forth in and out of her hometown. That's what they thought. Oh, you must be rich now. No, no, but
Well, if you've got good neighbors, that probably won't happen. But if the neighbors are a little bit dubious of character, then who knows what can happen while you're there. It's just
yeah,
always in the back of your mind, especially if you're out by yourself or you're out at night by yourself. That's even worse.
yeah,
Then you just have to expect the worst. So just don't go out there if you don't have to. Because
yeah.
all it takes is one person to cause harm or to hit you over the head and steal something.
Yeah. With that being said, I want to talk next about bribes. There's many. We were we already kind of covered this with bribes, but I want to kind of hit about it a little bit more. That there's just a lot out there that many times that they will con you into saying, "Hey, you got to pay for these particular damages," and "Hey, you got to do this," or "You got to pay extra on this," and you got to always be diligent to look out for yourself out there. I would just say that. But do you have anything to add, Bob, before
No,
we move
you
on?
could just pay more for anything, any
Yeah,
help at all. And it could
yeah,
be a family member just saying, look, it's my opportunity. I want to get an extra, 1,000 pesos out of this. Um, that's just how it goes.
yeah. With that said, moving to the next topic. Next one would be added fees. This is probably the biggest one that you'll probably ever experience in the Philippines. Added fees are the pinnacle. What'd you call that? What did you call that? For foreigner fees.
Oh, condo tax.
Kano tax. That's what we call it. Yeah. So yeah, that was new to me. I didn't know, but I didn't have that very often with my wife. But I know when we wanted to try to haggle, my wife didn't really want to. She wanted to pay the flat price on certain things, and that was just kind of. And I was kind of wondering whether or not that these particular fees would be extra charge. And actually, I want to see if I can find something real quick. One second. I'm see if I can find. There is a particular.
Just talking about Philippines scams here tonight. Joanna and Paul, Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.
I meant to
Thank you
grab
for
something.
joining. We've tried this live stream at 6, 7, or 8. I think 8 o'clock might be the most productive time, although it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But we're here today if you want to ask a question or mention a particular scam that you would want to warn foreigners going to the Philippines about. We've mentioned a few already in the first half hour, and that's what we're talking about here today. This is a simulcast, Joanna and Paul's channel, and Love Beyond the Sea. And many thanks to Paul for putting this together because
I can't find
we
it.
certainly don't have the
It's okay.
technical ability to do that.
Well, I can't find it right now, but I wanted to kind of just quickly explain a 1,000 peso bill and like the value of a 1,000 peso bill. Um, Basically, how you can understand how a 1,000 peso bill works in the Philippines is typically, as of right now, it ranges between anywhere between 53 Philippine pesos and 58 Philippine pesos.
Oh my, that's
Yeah,
good.
actually,
That's
when I went,
great.
it was 58 pesos,
Are you
and it
kidding
was
me?
great.
My wife never said anything about that.
Yeah, but well, that's called
55 used to be great.
yeah, well, that's because of the forex exchange, for foreign exchange, and basically how that works. So it ranges anywhere between 53 and 58. It was 58 when I went, so I got a little extra money because out of everything out of my pricing for things I paid for. It was kind of nice that I was able to spend less on certain things, but typically it's around 54 to 57. And but if you want to kind of do the math on Filipino money on the Philippine peso, I wish I could find my wallet. I don't know where it is, but I have my money in there somewhere. But a 1,000 peso Philippine bill is typically anywhere between 18 and 20 US dollars. I just would normally just round it out, but like almost $20. So when you go down to a $500 peso bill, which I have one of those, I have it right here. I bought one online.
It's $10.
Yeah, this is a $500 peso bill. Is it upside down? $500 peso bill,
Mhm.
and I plan to talk more. I plan on creating it. That one's about worth $10 in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's true, because if a foreigner, Paul, has no idea what you just said and they're not used to that, they go somewhere and they may not see the sign, and maybe they don't put a sign up because they want to be able to take advantage of a foreigner. And so they just say, this is what I need for this. When maybe a local would realize that's way too much money. But
Exactly.
if they do have signs, like I said before, make sure you get your change back, because you can subtract, the amount versus the change, and they might just want to hold on to it because you're from America or somewhere else. So make sure you count the change too, to make sure that you don't get ripped off that way.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that. Um, but yeah, moving on about added fees. So basically, what you do is you figure out, okay, so when something's 1,500 pesos, you know that's about $30. And if something doesn't feel right to you, hey, this shouldn't charge you $30. I think we're actually going to watch a video here real soon of this guy actually getting charged for a taxi ride. I know a lot of people talk about using Grab over taxis. Granted, I use taxis. Uh, I didn't really use a Grab. I know you have to wait for the Grab to show up if there's one available, and they have a set price range because you're paying basically on a card. But I had no problem with them holding meters or anything like that, because I could actually see the meter while I was riding in the back. And honestly, if the meter wasn't running, I could basically tell. And if they told me the meter wasn't broken, I'd probably be like, okay, well, we're out of here.
Well, they could
But
start it ahead, couldn't they?
yeah, maybe, I don't really know.
If you're not looking immediately, it might not start at zero. And I don't know if they ever do. They seem like they always start at, even here in America, they start at $2,
Zero.
$3 before they even get going for some reason.
Oh, I
When I
know.
used to take cabs.
Mm, I know. In the Philippines, it seemed like it started at zero. I didn't
Okay,
have
well,
a.
I thought you
It,
wanted to.
yeah, it seemed like the meters that I did see, I didn't seem like I was getting any added fees on top of that. But I was able to like watch it during the whole time and watch how much it was actually charging me. But they seemed like they were starting at zero for that particular fact. But yeah, I would say if there's a broken meter and if something doesn't add up and somebody's trying to say something like that, you need to probably just get out of there. Tell them to stop the car and just get out, and possibly just pay them a few, maybe 200 pesos or something, and just get out or something.
It helps to know the route, because they could take you around the long way.
Yeah.
Because to you, everything looks the same and you've probably never been there. So you might go 10 miles out of the way to get to your destination and you wouldn't know.
Mm. That actually happened a little bit to me. I would say we were in Cebu, Philippines, and what we were able to do is I talked to another foreigner, and we wanted to go to the aquarium there. I think it's called Ocean Park in Cebu, and it's a massive, really wonderful aquarium if you ever want to go there. But if they actually told us to take the brand new toll bridge. It's like this longest bridge. I think it's called the Kylex or Silex. I forgot what it's called, but it's this long toll bridge, and it like connects one side of Cebu to the other side, and you can pay the fee to cross it, or you can take the long way. Another foreigner who was in our condo at the Airbnb, he told us if you want to get there quickly, take that bridge and tell the taxi driver that you'll pay the fare at the toll booth. So that's what we did. It was really nice.
Good advice.
Yeah, it was really good advice. With that being said, but yeah, it was really good. We were able to at least get there a lot quicker. It was nice. But I have another video for added fees, so let's watch that. This one particular gentleman, I guess he did get scammed with the meter on a particular taxi. This is a long video. I'm not gonna cover all of it, but
Of a kid.
let's move forward. Let's go ahead and go right about.
So that taxi driver tried to scam us. I filmed this part here
I didn't want to turn my camera on for the rest in case things got a bit violent and he got pissed off with me having the camera on. But he tried to charge us 1,800 pesos for that, which is like $30 or something. On Grab, it was 500 pesos, and we gave him 500 and we said, look, you're lying. You didn't turn the meter on. You said you would turn the meter on, and we just walked off. That was my first scam in the Philippines, 1,800. That's more than 3 times the price it should be. Crazy. Radio Swift.
All right. Yeah, that was kind of his experience. Yeah, but it's
Yeah, that's
okay.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that can happen. I would just say try to do that. I do want to add to this. So everything is kind of preventable on this. I would basically say that probably the biggest component to stop anyone, if you're facing anything and you're thinking that there is a possible scam out there, I want to recommend this. Pull out your phone and start recording. I would just say that. Whatever's going on, just go ahead and just start recording. You record the gentleman, you can record what's going on, you start explaining to the video what's going on, and then that way, whenever you finally have to talk to the police, you have a recording of this particular gentleman, what happened, and you start having basically evidence of everything. You try to gather enough evidence between him and you, and just do that. This is probably the biggest component when it comes to like sextortion and bribes and everything. When it comes to added fees or any other possible scams that you might face, you have this in your pocket. You just start recording. That's my best advice.
It seems fair to me.
Yeah, I think so too. But all right. Basically, that was a misinterpretation of travel expenses. That was kind of what we just kind of talked about a little bit. Our next one, we were, I guess, kind of talking about. I wouldn't say this one's particularly a scam. Do you know what Corkage is in
No.
the Philippines? Okay. All right. So Corkage fees. These are added fees just to plug in something in the Philippines. Have you heard of that? But basically, we had to pay for.
Sounds like your cable bill here. Just throw in costs just because
Yeah.
I want to watch
Well,
some channels.
I know. So, essentially, what a corkage is, so if you use like a gazebo there, or if you use any kind of particular public place, and they're offering usually some kind of source of electricity, you need to be careful that they're not overcharging you to use that electricity. I would say that particular,
Mhm.
but I know for our wedding we had to pay a corkage fee just to add like the microphones and the sound system for our wedding and all that.
Oh, that's extra.
Yeah, extra fees just to plug in
You,
for
you want a
electricity.
minister? That's extra.
Yeah, that's what it was though. Oh, it was pretty nice, but that's how they did it though in the Philippines was corkage fees. Yeah, but yeah. Moving on, fake parking attendants. Do you know anything about that one or no?
No, I just know that there's usually multiple people out there at the airport, and they'll usually either want you to go to a certain taxi or it might be his own taxi. They
Oh
look
yeah,
for you and then, hey, sir, where are you going? I can get you over there. And it's tempting to do that unless you're waiting for your wife or her family or your wife and a girlfriend to show up, and with a ride for you that's going to be safer.
yeah.
That's the only thing that comes to mind for me. That might not be what you're referring to.
Well, that I can say that that's part of it. But those particular people, my wife basically told me, and I was thinking about this earlier. I was trying to figure out what they were named, but they're called conductors. So you have these particular people standing on the sides of streets or at bus terminals or even outside the mall, and these are particular people. Usually, they're not paid by you. Usually, they're paid by the actual transportation people that are actually transporting you. So you don't really need to pay those conductors, but what they'll do is they'll usher you into these
Hmm.
different places. Oh, hey,
Hmm.
where you going? You going to this town? Hey, you get on here. Yeah, like that, and you don't have to pay them if they're asking for
Oh,
money.
I see.
Yeah, you shouldn't pay a conductor
They're probably
because
paid by the driver.
yeah, they are paid by the driver. That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Try
yeah,
to do that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's one thing that my wife told me is because I asked, I was like, well, how do they get paid? Are they just standing around helping people? I was trying to figure that around.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Somebody's
it's really,
the driver, most likely.
yeah, exactly. I would say they were getting paid by them, and but moving on, um, broken taximeters. We just kind of covered that one a little bit, but basically, yeah, just don't get into a taxi that has a broken meter, or they say that it's not working right. It's they're trying to scam you either way. They're supposed to keep those cars in tip top shape. They're supposed to, not necessarily saying that they actually do, but from what I was told is that after so many miles or kilometers on that particular vehicle, they're supposed to retire those vehicles.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what they're supposed to do, not necessarily what they choose to do.
Well,
But
Paul, while I recommend having a Philippine at your side, I recognize that many people are in the Philippines and they don't know anybody on the ground. So they're just willing to go and start asking around. And those are the people that have to be the most careful. But I realize not everybody is going there to meet somebody. They're just going to see what happens. And so those are the people that really need to be careful.
yeah, I can see that. With that being said, definitely be careful if you can. We just kind of talked about this with me and Bob, but we're talking our next topic now. Topic number 3 is overpriced goods and services. We definitely need to definitely be careful about this. Is that especially that if you're a foreigner, they're going to look at you quite different. I think if you're even living there, they're always going to look at you different, no matter how much it is. My wife was even telling me that the possibility, because I was even kind of wondering, like, do I stand outside of like this particular establishment and you go in and buy it for me?
Hmm.
And she was just like, well, maybe we can do it that way. But it
Yeah.
seemed like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
Did
makes
did
sense.
did your wife do anything like that for you, or have anything while you were there? Since you went so many times, or did you just go inside together?
No, she felt like she had everything in control.
Mm,
And she, of course, knew the lay of the land and the prices, and she knew if we would be taken advantage of. I was
yeah,
laughing because one of the first on our first trip there, we went to a money exchange place. What do you call that? Western Union or something.
yeah.
And I bought this big pop Coke for her, and it was on the ground. And I remember with my big feet, I ended up kicking that over, and it was pretty full. And then she got what she needed, and we had to leave, and we didn't even have time to clean it up. I just felt like, oh man, they're gonna hate me for that. But we had to go, and it was a big cup of Coke that I kicked over. You know how sticky that gets on the floor, and there was a lot of people sitting on those benches, and it was just like, oh man, how clumsy could I be?
Oh no, oh no. Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was in a place to exchange money, so I'd give her
Yeah.
cash, and then she'd go in there and get pesos from it.
Okay, I
Huge
understand.
piles of pesos.
With that being said, where are we at? Overpayment for travel fare. This is one particular thing. So we already kind of covered this, but I want to kind of add to it a little bit. That eventually, especially, okay, I know a lot of people are really proponents of Grab instead of taxis. I don't think you should shy away from jeepneys. I don't think you should. I actually had a particular gentleman actually said, "Well, I'm only going to take Grab," and I was just like, "What are you going to do when you're in a smaller town when they don't have Grabs?" And I said, "You shouldn't be shy away from that." And I wound up telling him, "You just need to trust your wife as much as you can." I agree on that. Because you can find cheaper mode of transportations. If you think something's overcharged, ask your wife, ask your girlfriend, your fiance, and ask them what do they typically pay. I mean, are they paying 80 pesos to get on a bus? Are they paying 60 pesos or something to get on a jeepney?
Ooh,
A van, are you paying this much? And you just need to kind of understand, okay, this is the typical fare. Okay, well, are they increasing the fare because of inflation? Lately, they are. They're doing that lately. But that's just one thing that you need to consider whenever understanding the fare. I knew it costed me only 20 pesos when we were taking a motorcycle into town. That's what it was. It's 20 pesos a person.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about the rides. When I used to get a ride or a jeepney, I think my wife told me it was like for a scooter ride, like 10 pesos. Or now when you get on a jeepney, not a jeepney, but what do you call it? The smaller ones, tricycles. Do
Yeah.
you pay per person or do you pay 10, 15 pesos for everybody, or is that something your wife says everybody needs to pay the driver?
As far as I'm aware, for tricycles or Bajas, I guess they're called, or they also call them turtles, um, that's typically per person.
Is that okay? I'm sure my
Yeah.
wife did that, but
Yeah, that was typically per person. That's what I noticed. That's what it was. So when I got on a motorcycle, it was me and my wife. When we got on a motorcycle together, it was 20 pesos per person. You
well,
know.
that's a lot. It seems
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So that's the way it was.
I mean, I'm
I
not saying
know.
it's a lot, but it seems like a lot more than what we were talking about when I
Hmm.
went to marry her.
Well, it was kind of you could kind of see like it's it might be more
Depends how
more than
long, how far you're
yeah.
driving.
Yeah, I can kind of understand it this way. Whenever let me just switch over here. I can kind of understand it this way. So when you are a shared rider basically, and they want to take you into town and they want to pick up multiple people, they're
Hmm.
kind of adding to that. So
Hmm.
20 pesos per person, and then basically it's almost just like the jeepney ride. The same price for the jeepney, the same distance, same amount of people, and basically and they're just kind of taking extra people for them to make extra money, and that's just how that works.
And
Even though they're going, yeah, yeah, for them to
as
be
far as
doing
the
it.
jeepney rides, all I see is people handing money, and the money gets down to the driver. The
Mm.
person that's driving with the driver, he's usually handing the money. You have to make sure, I guess, that you get your change back again, like I've said before.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they charge, but everybody seems to be pretty nonchalant about it. They'll go in there, they'll give a bill of some kind. Everybody passes it forward, and then if you get it back, I guess check to make sure that it's. I don't even know how they know what the cost is. Maybe everybody charges the same
Yeah,
on
I
all of
think
those jeepneys.
when it came down to jeepneys and stuff, that was the one thing that I did notice when that whenever the way jeepney works is how far you particularly travel is how much it's actually going to cost you, and you pay the driver at the end. I think for the
Oh,
jeepney ride.
really? It seems like
Yeah,
we've always seen the payments right as when you walk in, when you get into the vehicle.
I think that might depend. I'm not really sure, but I think you paid him at the end. I think
Yeah,
that's what we
we've
did.
never done that.
I don't really recall exactly, but I think it was at the end. I would have to ask my wife. Don't hold me to that standard. But the one thing is, I don't know if you saw this. Did you ever see them hold money in their fingers like this?
Yeah, it's amazing how they can do that.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't have my other bills right now. I'm missing my wallet somewhere. But the fact is that they would fold up these bills in half, a long ways in half, and they would have like 1,000s, 500s, 200s, 100s, and 50s all rolled up in their fingers. It looked like they had a big giant rainbow in their
That makes
fingers,
sense.
and they were able to swap the money back and forth. All it was really cool.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, the person that's not driving, they constantly pick up people, so he really has to be quick with exchanging the money because
Yeah.
they want to keep
Exactly.
driving and pick up people.
Yeah. I agree. Oh man. All right, moving on to direct theft. That was kind of our next one. When it comes down to direct theft, this I wouldn't really say this is particularly a scam, but this can be attributed to scams. So there has been lately a big issue with these people actually drugging drinking, drugging up a particular foreigner. They would invite them over for a party or for a gathering, and then they would dope them up somehow, and then they would basically steal from them
Hmm.
either money or their items, and that's what they would do. Did you hear about that before?
I've never heard about that
Oh,
before.
okay, yeah,
Anything's
that's
possible.
yeah, but that's what they're kind of doing. That was kind of a recent one that you probably need to watch out for. But direct thefts are not just that. But this was basically I need to move over here. Invited people over farted but steal their items. So that was kind of moving into that. And
Well, like
then
I said, we had a house party. We had like a, I don't know, dedication or something. Had 40, 50 people in there, and we think a relative took something.
oh I did hear about that if somebody does steal something, that typically they don't want you to call the police, and even if you do call the police want you to handle it amongst yourselves. Um, as far as I'm aware, is try your best to handle it amongst themselves before getting the police involved. So basically, hey, this is the situation. You owe me this situation. Can you please give it back, or can you please pay me back for what you took? And but that was kind of a thing. I didn't hear about that. But the next one I would talk about is snatch and grabs, either on foot or motorcycles. Now, I didn't have this particular issue where somebody actually grabbed something, but this is a particular situation where people have had this particular thing happen. And I do have a video about this.
This is my bag. It was just beside me here. I was sitting here. I just ate the food from the there, and I came and I sit and I eat. After I check my bag, well, no, they stole it here. We are here at the food court. At the food court, there is a CCTV there. There is a CCTV there. There is another CCTV there. There is more than three CCTV. After my bag gets stolen, I just go to the admin office. After I go to the admin office, I told them my bag gets stolen, and they didn't show any help or any reaction about that. Just they say, sorry, like that CCTV is not working. After I told them my bag gets stolen, and after that nobody said. I asked people around me, nobody see anything. So I came back. I don't know what happened. After I see the video, they told me that they are getting crazy and doing such kind of things. I don't know. I cannot remember because I was not normal that time. So I don't know how to express this. Everything is in my bag. My money, my ATM card, my camera. The camera is the most expensive camera I have, the GoPro. And I have all my data there, all my files, all my important, very important things. Because I just came from Japan last week. I came there direct.
Yeah, that. So, maybe he got his bag back, but he has an A bag. Maybe, I don't know, but let's just, yeah. But you just need to be careful. Watch out with watch out for your items. I know I have a particular sling bag that I brought with me. It was my camera bag, but I use it for a lot of things. I would recommend the possibility if you do. I would recommend that if you can get yourself a sling bag, or even like they even have a crossed waist bag thing. This is my particular sling bag I brought with me into the Philippines. It's my camera bag. That was kind of it. I decided to put this on the front of me and hold it with me all the time. It was kind of my main thing, and I kept my passport in here. I kept my wallet in here. Basically, they would have to take it right off of my body. I know a lot of people. I would recommend to possibly getting a fanny pack or something like that, and definitely keep your separate items together. Your most valuable, your most treasured items together, like your wallet, your phone, and your passport, and all anything that particular you have. But also, this is another recommendation I would also recommend. I would also recommend taking a photocopy of your passport or your identification. Just because somebody gets it stolen, you at least have that to show to the embassy. Hey, my passport got stolen. I have a copy of it. Here it is. Put it on your phone, but also make an actual picture copy of it if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife adds to that. She just says, don't take it. Leave it at home. She just takes everything and holds onto it in her purse that we need. So she takes all the money, and we don't take any passport or documents out there when we're just until we're leaving, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
So otherwise, she just carries some money in her purse and whatever else she has in there, and that's it. She doesn't want us even bringing that along.
I didn't think about that, but I didn't
If
think
you
about
feel
that.
safe leaving it at home.
Yeah. I know when I guess I could help. As long as you trust your family, though. Make sure you trust your family too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know when I went, and I would say I would trust my family. But I know when I went, I did take it with me a lot. We traveled a lot, and I wasn't really sure if I trusted the Airbnbs or the hotels I was there. So it was like my first time fully being there. But I wanted to make sure that that could be trusted. So I did take it with me like everywhere. It was kind of a little too much to take it with me everywhere. I would probably pack lighter this time around, but knowing how things work there. But yeah, definitely. Just like Bob said, if you can leave it somewhere, leave it somewhere. I know when I got an Airbnb, they needed proof of it all the time, so I was always showing it to people. I know when I
Right.
got married, I had to show it to people too. Yeah, that was a whole nother thing.
Hmm. And that
Yeah.
one I also want to mention, carrying the little inside shirt bag, little pouch that you put your bills and your change in, and you put it around your waist, but you put it underneath the front of your shirt, because that way people are less likely to come up behind you and snatch it,
Mm,
or unzip it and take it, because they'd have to mess with you more just to be able to get it. Rather than if
yeah.
you keep it behind somewhere, the more you can keep things in front of you, you got your hands there to protect it. That helps too.
Yeah, I can say that. And that's why I was recommend like even like a fanny pack. They even have like a cross body bag.
Yeah, I have one. I wear it all the time.
Oh, okay, that's
I take
good.
it with me everywhere because I don't. I have too much stuff to put in my pockets.
Yeah, yeah,
I ripped out a pocket one year with billfold, and I said that's the last time I'm doing that. So
yeah.
started going lighter.
now this one, now this one actually happened to you, but you were they misplaced your luggage. Yeah,
Yeah, it was, but yeah, it wasn't stolen. It was just
yeah.
they told me about 5 flights a day, or 5 times each flight into Manila, somebody loses their luggage, and they may find it and send it to your destination the next day or two, which happened with us. It was found, but yeah, that was my very first time there. I was looking for my wife after this 36-hour trip, and I had no luggage, and I had to deal with that while trying to find her, let her know that I was there and I wasn't standing her up, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working, so I had the Wi-Fi and missed luggage, and trying to meet her and say, "Hey, don't go. I'm finally here," but then the Wi-Fi was out, so it was hard to communicate with her.
Uh,
But those are
yeah.
some of the things you deal with when you go to the Philippines. Just expect Wi-Fi not to be working, and there's a small chance they could lose your luggage. And that happened to us coming back to Los Angeles or Colorado or somewhere. We've lost our luggage like twice, or they've lost our luggage.
Mm, I could understand that.
That's why it's good to have a travel agent and can help make sure you know what to do to get it back. Weird stuff like that happens.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that, and that's a big one. That's a hard one. I I'm
Oh,
glad
who
I
wants
didn't.
to be without their luggage?
Yeah, I brought
That's why the most important things I bring on the plane,
yeah,
stuff I
yeah.
cannot lose.
That's true. I know for me, I didn't have any lost luggage, and Judy, the one lady spoken about before, she the moment I got into Manila, this was kind of interesting. So Judy, she told me while they were sorting out my luggage, she told me, "Hey, pay that guy," and I kind of obviously paid him, and she's just like, "You're supposed to do it sneakily." I was like, "Oh," so I'm supposed to kind of help him, and apparently something happens if I pay this guy, maybe my luggage won't be lost, or
Ah,
maybe he'll move it forward or something. But yeah, but it was kind of interesting. Hey, pay him to check my luggage and to move it forward from Manila into my next plane.
I'm sure she knew what she was doing, unless she
Yeah,
just wanted him to get tipped for superior service. I know my wife's big on tipping over there because she realized how hard it is to make money. So she usually tips quite a bit. So maybe she
yeah.
just wanted to help him out that way.
Well, I think the possibility of helping him out too, but she seemed legitimate about what she was trying to say because she was explaining to me that because she's originally from California, but she's visiting the Philippines, and she mentioned basically that something about if I do tip them, and how this plays out is that somehow basically something better will happen to my luggage. They
Mm.
seemed like they were just moving my luggage because they had this huge stacks of all this luggage everywhere. But the moment I did pay them, they grabbed my luggage and moved it
Mm.
forward.
Okay,
So yeah,
maybe she knew what she was doing. I
yeah,
don't know what it was, but she had some idea.
yeah, I think so too.
You
Yeah, that
trust
was
her.
yeah. So the next one we will be talking about is sympathy scams. This is a particular one that we have to be really, really careful of when it comes to sympathy scams. They they can look really sad stories. You can see an innocent child, and suddenly there's a grown up trying to steal from you, or another another child behind them stealing from you. We see a lot of homeless children doing certain things, trying, and some of them are legitimately homeless. Some of these
Hmm.
children, and some of them are actually trying to make a few extra bucks. There was a situation where me and my wife, uh, in in Mindanao, we went to a Jollibee, and I didn't really realize it then. I realize it now. But there's this little boy kind of like ushering me to drive my scooter over to the side here and park it right there, and then my wife telling me, "Hey, I need to
Gotta
pay
pay
that little
him.
boy." Huh?
Got to pay him.
Yeah, I gotta pay them. So, yeah, but yeah, I gotta pay him for that. Kind of tipping him
Yeah.
for helping him do that situation. But, and I think sympathetic wise, that should be really good. But when it comes down to that, we need to also be extra diligent when there's other little things going on. Possibility of like these little girls trying to sell you things. You need to be careful that they're not trying to coerce you to do certain things. So we do need to be careful about that. I do have a particular video about a sympathy scam, and this one's actually qualifies for a foreigner. I don't know if you actually heard about the foreigners scamming people in the Philippines. I
Ah,
don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
but that one's a pretty decent one.
I walked outside of my hotel because I wanted to buy some groceries, and there was another foreigner sitting there, kind of like looking for help. The guy was about 60 years old, he said his name is Leo, and he got jumped outside the city. People stole all his stuff. So I sat there, listened to his story, he tried to text his friend, sending a message to a fake number, obviously. Nobody responds, and at the end, after talking for like 3 hours straight, telling his whole life story about the Bible, everything he ever went through, he's like, hey, by the way, do you have money? Well, I did. So I gave him about $40, about like 2,500 pesos, and it turns out he's a drug addict.
Ah,
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah. Turns out he's a drug addict. I did hear about this a little bit. I was watching several people around like Dumaguete area and several other areas. I think there's a couple of them up in Manila that there are these particular foreigners that act like they're stuck in the Philippines, and they basically con other foreigners out of money. It's kind of interesting. So,
yeah, that's sad.
yeah, it is. It's really sad. But yeah. So yeah, we just need to watch out for homeless children stealing items and food. That's a big one. But and the possibility also moving over to we need to watch for strangers and children's also begging for money and food. So we didn't need to do that. Did you have a whole lot of issues with beggars while you were there?
Dependent on the time. It wasn't constant, but like if you went to, we went to a pharmacy, and this was, it was like, I remember being like outside, and, not in a mall or something. But then as soon as you go up there, yeah, there's a lot of women with their small children, and they come up and they look at you, and you don't know what am I supposed to do. And then my wife just says, just don't do anything, um, because they just, I trust her with that, but she usually says don't help. And my wife was extremely generous, but I take it that she can tell by what she sees that this might not be the best time to just give somebody some money. So she'll just tell me, "Don't do it. Just don't do it."
Yeah.
Because yeah, they're there. I mean, see, you go up to pharmacy. That means you can afford meds. You got some money. So then they come up close to you and try to break your heart. And you know, you just have to learn to say no.
Mm. Yeah, I can agree with that. I
Same thing
know.
with family members
Yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes you have to tell them no. I know when I dealt with beggars, there I didn't typically deal with a whole lot of beggars. I seen probably more people trying to sell me stuff and pressure me to buy stuff,
Hmm.
more than I probably had with beggars.
Hmm.
There was a couple times that I did have a couple beggars, a few children, and one particular uh, older gentleman that seemed like he had a pretty decrepit hand, and it seemed pretty awful to look at. But I decided to turn away from it because I heard if you try to give money to one, more might follow, and they
Yeah,
might want.
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a situation. It wasn't that I felt bad, but we have to be careful about these sympathy scams. That you're just giving your money away, and you're kind of helping them in their situations when honestly, you don't need to feed the monkeys or
Mm.
anything like that. You need to let them be as much as possible, because honestly, they bribe you into giving them money now. They're going to ask you later or ask other foreigners because they're just asking for a handout. That's kind of how it works.
And you don't want to contribute to those kids being taught how to beg for money from foreigners. That's
Yeah.
what my wife said. Their parents teach them this. They teach them when they're young how to do this. And so for that reason, you don't want to contribute to that. You want to say, nope, no, no, I can't do this. And you just pretty much have to just not say anything. Um, because the more you talk, the more they're going to try to pull at your heartstrings.
Yeah, I can see that. Moving forward, we're gonna now talk about this is probably me and Bob's hottest topic is online or in person women asking for support and family for their family or from themselves. Family expenses, uh, their brother's motorcycle broke down. Their mom needs to have surgery. Their brother needs to have a tooth pulled, and you need to you need to be careful about this. Even dating with one, you need to be careful. What the fact is she adding a lot to your expenses to doing this? I know we feel like this whole honeymoon stage and we're going to do anything for her, but if she's asking for a new phone all the time and she's asking for $40 every single week and eventually that turns up to $250 every month, you need to be careful. So,
I've had people say on a comment, I give her like $900 a month. Is that too much? The answer is yes. It's way, 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 way too much because
yeah,
he doesn't know. And if
yeah,
she knows he doesn't know, she might just say, well, I wonder if I can get this much because he
yeah,
doesn't know, especially he's never been there.
yeah. I, I give my wife a little bit of money every once in a while, but I want to see her like now granted, I'm not trying to say that I'd never give my wife money. When she needs help, I do give her money, because she's my wife. But when she was my girlfriend, I didn't give her any money, it's, except for maybe load every once in a while, just so she can talk to me. But because I wanted to see that the fact that she could actually support herself, that was kind of my big thing. And even now, she pretty much supports herself. I think doing that in regard, you need to be with a particular woman. I did have another woman prior to my wife that was kind of homeless, and she was always asking for money to do
Mm.
things. And I did send her a significant amount of money at one particular time, and she did use it. She used it for buying an actual grill and like actually making food. She actually showed me that she actually bought it, and she actually showed me she was actually working on it. But granted, I eventually was drawn away from her because of that she was pretty unstable. She wasn't
Mm.
able to get her life together, and she had a daughter. And I was just like, look, I can't be there for you. And I think you're a great woman, but I can't be there for you. And I think I found someone else who's actually seems like, even though she's making less money, she seems stable enough in her life. And she didn't take it very well, but
Well, what can you do? You're there to
yeah.
look for a wife. You can't please everyone.
No, you can't please everyone. But I'm happy that my wife. Even my wife doesn't ask me for money now, but I every once in a while I do ask her. I'm like, do you need anything? Do you want anything? Do you need help with anything? And eventually she does tell me what she needs, but she doesn't like to ask at all. That was kind of that makes a good woman. So
Oh, yeah. It's a good sign.
yeah, exactly. I think that basically covers all our topics today, Bob.
Okay. If
But
anybody's online here, if you want to
yeah,
say who you are and ask a
yeah,
question,
yeah. We
especially
we're here.
regarding scams, but it could be anything.
Yeah, but yeah, we're here with you guys. If you guys have any particular topics, if you guys actually experience scams yourself, if you've been to the Philippines or done anything yourself, let us know. And if not, we will be out of here, and we'll see you with another one next week. But this particular, I will mention this. This particular topic, I want to talk a little bit more along the lines of preparing for the Philippines. we might start a second, like a part two of this. Maybe I'm gonna talk to Bob about that, but there's a number amount of different scams out there in the Philippines that people can watch out for. But we just went ahead and just covered 5 today. We want to make this a little bit shorter today, but if you guys have anything that you want to contribute, we're all ears for you.
Paul's been married to a woman from the Philippines since October of 22. She's not in the United States yet.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have been married about 8 years and 9 months, and she's been here since 2016. So I know what's coming for him down the line, how his life is going to change and how it will go by faster, and there will be more stresses. You think you got this companion and everything's going to go good, but she's still got ties to the Philippines. She's still going to want to communicate with her family, and she's going to have to get used to your hours, I suppose, if you're the one working.
Yeah.
And who knows? You probably are an early riser. Maybe she's like my wife and prefers to get up late.
I don't like being an early riser, but I have to get up at 4 in the morning.
Okay, that's early.
Yeah, I don't like
I
it.
mean, I
have to
loved
get
it.
up-
I loved it.
I don't like to, but typically getting used to it. I do wake up at 5 eventually,
Mhm.
or 6, but I don't like it. I know when I was off and especially during COVID and some other ones, or even layoffs and the whole strike situation where we had a strike at my work, I was waking up not quite later, but I was already used to working at those particular times, and I was like, why am I even awake when I could sleep in? But hopefully my wife can get used to it. I know we might have to work different hours. Your wife works different hours, so
Right now, she's the only one that's working, but she's
yeah.
been working second shift for quite a while. I wish she worked first shift, and that's kind of the goal for the future. But for her to finish school, she's got one class left. She has to be in person in class, and that has to be first shift. And I hope she can finish it because then she gets an associate's degree. She could do it online. This last one, she's been doing chemistry, but she doesn't think she'll pass if she can't go in there. And the problem is, it makes her 2 hours late for work 3 days a week. But we're looking at other options because we're always looking ahead. Find the right company for her and the right place for her, and we'll see. I've spent a lot of time the last 2 or 3 days with different things involving her and the girl we call our daughter, and we're treating her like that. And this week, Paul went by like it took 10 seconds since we did the last Friday Night Live simulcast.
Yeah.
It's just been crazy, and you've got your son there too, and that's gonna
Yeah.
be new for her. And then you've got that different dynamic in there. Who is your son going to listen to?
Yeah, like a
What
whole
right are you
different.
going to give your wife to discipline him? Whether that's grounding him, he's probably too old to spank, maybe not. But can she discipline him? Because I know Filipinos like to discipline. They're tougher than American families, and I like that.
I will say that I definitely discipline my son. I and I and me and my wife have already talked about disciplining him,
Good.
and I don't think he's too old to be disciplined. So, I don't think so. I got disciplined even when I was 17. So
Well, I did a video on spanking the Philippines because over there anybody can spank anybody. If they're in the family, you don't have to ask permission. You just start paddling. And man, this one guy just relentlessly pursued me for a week. How terrible I was, and how disgusting it was, and how brutal it was. To sanction spanking like this. And he was, I don't know, he probably was somebody that had a lot of spankings growing up and didn't think they were fair. There had to be a reason, but I think it was pretty. And the whole point of it was that not only can that nieces or nephews' parents spank them, but so can your wife. If she's inclined, take those little ones and spank them. But people in America, for example, they think it's a crime. In fact, it may be a crime here to spank your child. If they tell the teacher, that's child abuse.
I'm gonna be straight up forward. I spanked my son. I spanked him right in front of his family, and they I was surprised because they looked at me like kind of weird. But I wouldn't doubt that other families do spank their children in the Philippines, and I'm a big proponent of spanking.
Mhm.
I think if more parents would spank their children, we wouldn't have children in my neighborhood stealing cars. Just
I'm
being
not going to
honest.
disagree with that.
But we have children, teens in my neighborhood stealing cars. And police not able to do anything about it. The judge is not able to do anything about it. And honestly, this is one thing that my pastor said: rules without relationship equal rebellion.
Hmm.
That's what it is. Rules without relationship equal rebellion. Honestly, I don't think you should just only ever spank your children, and I don't think you should never ever not have a relationship with your child. But you need to bridge the gap between relationship and rules.
Mhm. I
That's
agree.
yeah.
That's sound advice.
Yeah, honestly, if you look at the book and you look at the Exodus and look at the book of Numbers, you look at the book of Judges, look at all the Old Testament, look at any part of the Old Testament, you see God disciplining the people of Israel, either
Mhm.
by not being there or directly disciplining them by sending an army after him, after them, sending plagues, doing these bad things, and because he's actually disciplining him. I remember in the book of Ezekiel, God's like, "You're gonna be in exile for 70 plus years. Th- This is this is your punishment. You're staying here. You're gonna be in Persia in this particular land for 70 years, and you see the priest and you see the prophets, the false prophets, saying, "Oh, don't stay here, don't build houses, don't get married. We're all gonna go back soon." And God says, "No, you're staying there, and I'm keeping you there." but and
So
that's
it will
and this
be.
and this is your punishment.
Mhm.
So I agree that we need to punish. I became a better man because I got disciplined. I believe it, and I think that honestly, there's a big gap with a lot of parents today that choose not to punish their children. It's because I guess maybe they were punished too harshly when they were young. Now they view that maybe it's best that talking to their children is a better solution to them. But I don't agree with that because I have a lot of despondent children in in my area that I have to literally sit down because I am a mentor to some of these children, a direct mentor, and I take a couple to church with me, and I say, "Look, this is not okay. I don't care what your family does and your parents don't punish you, but in my house, these are my rules, my standards. You don't steal in my house. You don't lie in my house. Those are the big proponents that you don't do in my house at all. If I catch you lying or stealing, I can't spank you, honestly, but I will honestly kick you out of my house, and you'll never come back until you repent, until you reprimand like that." There was a particular child. I am his mentor. His name is Mark, and he's stolen quite a bit from me. And granted, he's finally learned his lesson. We've reprimanded that situation, but I've literally told him, "No, since you've done this," and he decided to not only steal from me, stole from his parents, and then he also stole from other neighbors. And I walked him around the street. We went for a walk and stuff, and I said, "Look, this is what God not wants you to do. God says, 'Thou shalt not steal.' You should not be able to do this." And I understand the only reason why he's stealing for money is to impress his friends. And I
Mm.
told him, "I'm willing to give you an allowance if you're willing to help out. I'm willing to help you if you help me," kind of a situation. And you help me watch my son, or you come over and do my dishes whenever I cook, and whenever we're doing a Bible study or something together. You are contributing to these things. I'm willing to help back and share that with you. But you don't need to steal. You're what? Well, he's 14 now. You're only 14 years old. Do you really need this money? No. You're living under your parents' roof. You're coming over to my house for free and eating my food. Do you need any of this? Do you really need to impress these people or these friends? No.
I commend you for taking on that role.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to do. When you were talking about snatching, it made me think here, and maybe it's the hours, but if it was me, I would drive around with like a bag. Obviously, here somebody could steal it. Only I'd have a snake wrapped up inside that bag, and then let them snatch it, drive off, and think they've done something, open up, and that snake is in there, or something like that that would scare them to death. And
That would be
then they
funny.
realize, you know what? I think maybe I'm not going to snatch anymore because I don't know what's in here.
Oh,
reach in
yeah.
there and
Did you ever? Do you ever see those people? There's I think his name Mark Wahlberg. He makes the one Amazon.
and good
Uh,
hamburgers too.
huh?
Wahlburgers, those are
I
good
don't.
hamburgers.
I forgot his
Mm,
name. But there's this one guy. He's an engineer. But he makes this spinning like a thing when people steal Amazon packages. Do you ever watch it before?
no.
Oh, okay. I'll have to show you that video. But this one guy, he winds up basically, uh, and he like improvises and he eventually advances this fake Amazon package, and he like literally puts it at people's doorsteps. And whenever they pull the top off of it, it actually says the Home Alone thing, like "take that, you sucker" or something like that.
Mm,
And then it has this little spinning thing inside of it that spreads glitter, and then it has fart spray.
I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
might have.
yeah,
My
yeah,
wife might have shown that
yeah,
to me.
yeah. And it's like GPS on it. Has these different phones able to record with GPS and everything, and he's able to retrieve it most of the time,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. I think I have seen that.
yeah. But yeah, but it's payback, so that was fun. It's really good. We,
Well, no comments tonight other than from
it's
Kid
fine.
Flash, but I was hoping it must be a busy night out there. But
Yeah.
scamming is usually something people have a little interest in. But perhaps next Friday it will go differently.
What we can do is maybe we'll just try to advertise it. Did you advertise it this weekend? I don't think I did.
Did you put when just like before on the live
I
link?
didn't. I
Oh,
didn't put an
because I
update
thought
on.
I didn't check. I've been so busy I
Yeah.
didn't check.
I
That's my
probably in
wife.
the future. Probably in the future we can do that. Um, maybe that'll help contribute, and we'll add to it to Facebook and do that, and see if we can go ahead. Go ahead and I can do that. So basically, what we can possibly do in the future is, by the way, we do go live every Friday currently at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to contribute, you want to add to this, I do have a particular form now in my comments section, a questionnaire. You can fill that out with any questions that you may have, and we can just go from there. If you guys had any particular issues, if you felt like any needs or concerns, if you are worried about any particular, even this particular video, even if you're watching during the replay, go ahead and put your comments below, and we can just try to help you out. But if no one has any particular questions, we're gonna get ready to close tonight.
I
So
do appreciate anybody here watching, and like Paul said, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Doesn't have to necessarily at this point relate to what we talked about, but we just want to help. If you got thinking about going there, Paul T.
yeah, Paul T.
Boy, Paul, we got to start this pretty late in the day to
Yeah,
to, to get in touch with you.
it's
But thank
fine.
you for dropping in. We started an hour and 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, but
Just
yeah,
trying to
we're
find the
already getting
right
ready to
time.
close, and we're talking about common scams in the Philippines. This might be part one of that. So
Yeah, if you got some more ideas, we can do
yeah,
part two and
yeah,
advertise it and
yeah,
see how that goes.
yeah. We might do a part two. Did you want to do that next week? Just do a
Well,
part two,
we have to take a
or
look
if
at
you
what you've got written
okay.
down, and then we can
Yeah.
decide.
This will be. I know in this particular one, I want to do a particular series of preparing for the Philippines, and just preparing for certain things like preparing your luggage, preparing for the trip, places to see, places to do with your wife, preparing for all these different general topics. And we might do a part two now. We might do a part two later. Still
That's
early
right.
here in Seattle, he says.
It's probably about 7:24 out there, right, Paul?
Yeah, I
So
think it
that's
is.
early in the evening.
Yeah, that being yeah, I think it is about 7. So 7:25 now. Oh,
I've been to Seattle. We went there when we were small.
I've never been there. I've never
Went to
been to
Space
Seattle.
Needle when it was maybe relatively new. I don't
What
know
is
if it's even
space?
there anymore.
What is Space
Space
Needle?
Needle is this really tall structure,
Okay.
very tall, and that's all I remember because we were elementary school. I do remember playing wiffle ball in the backyard, and which sports teams I liked at the time, and that's a great age to be about 8 or 10 years old. And I do remember some of the smell of the carnival over there, and I remember being in the Space Needle, but boy, I don't remember much about it.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. Oh, I need to check that out now. I need to write that down. I'm gonna write that down now.
Space Needle in Seattle, if you've got any reason to be
Yeah,
going up
Space
there.
Space Needle in Seattle.
That was a long time ago. It was kind
Okay.
of big, a long time ago.
But I do want to add just to this a little bit before we get ready to close. So again, we do go live at 9 p.m. on Fridays. This would be in the Philippines. I mean, if you are in the Philippines, this would be what 11 a.m. Saturday in the morning. If you do want to check us out here, but we are still here for you guys, and we're getting ready to close tonight. Also, I am starting to put on my particular channel, which is Joanna and Paul. You can check that out. So go ahead and like and subscribe to that. But I did add a podcast now with YouTube Music now, and you can check that out on YouTube Music. And I'm also trying to start uploading these particular videos and the sound also to Spotify. So if you are interested in that, you can also check out the JP Network also on Spotify. We're called Joanna and Paul here on YouTube. I'm also kind of calling it the JP Network on YouTube Music too. It's kind of hard. Me calling us Joanna and Paul. Maybe YouTube might pick up calling it the JP Network, but you can find us either on Joanna and Paul or the JP Network, and we'll be streaming to you. I haven't decided if I'm going to start streaming it to Apple, or was it Apple Podcast, but I am looking to try to expand that. So in the meantime, in that right now, I'm mostly in YouTube Music, streaming to that situation, and you can listen to our live replay. So it's a little bit more easier and digestible. You can just listen to what we're saying here.
I need to call my wife back.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we are getting ready to close, and you guys have a great and wonderful night. I will say one last thing.
We got 5 people here, and we have to go.
I know. I said if you do feel obligated to dispute anything that we said in the comics, please do so. I said please. Please do so with respect, and we'll see you next time. I forgot to put an E in there. But anyway, I'll fix that next time. You guys have a great day.